Okay, so here we go for another guitar lesson. Today I'm going to be teaching you Resolve by the Foo Fighters, one of my favourite tunes by the Foos. It's quite an underrated song. It's not usually in people's top 5 or top 10 even, but it's a classic song. I've always enjoyed it and I'm going to be teaching you it today. So basically the intro, what you're doing there is on the low E string, you're going from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret and keeping the A, D and G strings open below it. You can use any finger you want for this, whatever is easiest and work for you, but you're doing from the 2nd fret to the 3rd fret on the low E 3 times. Okay? So that's the intro sort of riff I did. Then we go into this lead intro line, which I'll teach you now. So put your first finger on the 6th fret of the G string, first finger on the 7th fret of the D string, third finger on the 9th fret of the D string, third finger on the 9th fret of the A string. So you've gone first finger 6th fret of the G, first finger 7th fret of the D, third finger on the 9th fret of the D. So then we go third finger on the 9th fret of the A, first finger on the 7th fret of the D, third finger on the 9th fret of the D, and first finger on the 7th fret of the A. So, okay. Then we move up. Then what we do is we slide on the 10th up to the 10th fret on the A string with our third finger. Okay. First finger on the 7th fret of the D string, third finger on the 9th fret of the D string, first finger on the 7th fret of the D string again. So then we use pinky finger on the 10th fret of the A string and third finger on the 9th fret of the D string. So okay, and then we go second finger on the 7th fret of the G string, second finger on the 7th fret of the G string, first finger on the 6th fret of the G string, third finger on the 9th fret of the D string, first finger on the 6th fret of the G string, second finger on the 7th fret of the D string, and second finger on the 9th fret of the D string twice. Okay, so okay, and then we move up. We go second finger on the 12th fret of the D string, first finger on the 11th fret of the D string, second fret on the 12th fret of the D string again. So, and then slide up to the 14th, and then put your first finger on the 12th fret of the D string. So, okay, and then we do first finger on the 12th fret of the A string, third finger on the 14th fret of the A string, back to the first, back to the third, back to the first again, and then use your third finger on the 14th fret of the low E to slide down. So played slowly. I know I've sort of rushed through that, but I don't want to spend sort of half an hour just teaching you this melodic line. We'll go through it slowly. Hopefully it makes sense. And yeah, here we go. So. Okay, and that's the intro and the melodic, like sort of intro, like riff that's played to the start of Resolve. So next we'll be going into the verse. Okay, so here we go for the verse of Resolve. Basically you're going between A sus2, E minor 7, G5 and D major. So okay, so A sus2, what you're doing there is you're putting your first finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, second finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and the rest of the strings around that are ringing open, okay? So they're all played open. Okay? So E minor 7 next, you're going first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, second finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, third finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and like sort of the strings around that you can play open, let them ring as well. And I will say on this E minor 7 chord, when you are playing that, just arpeggiate these top 3 strings. Just It just gives it a bit of flavour that you don't have. There's no strict sort of picking pattern for that, but it just adds a bit of flavour and it just sort of embellishes the chord a bit more. It just sort of lets it, and then it just adds a little bit more. It just gives it a bit more character, you know. So you do the A sus2, E minor 7. Then we move on to the G5 chord. So if you put your second finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, and use this finger to sort of mute the A string below it, and then put your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and put your pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the high E. Okay, and you're just making sure you can hear, like I say, that low note on the low E, and like I say, the B and E strings. So say try and mute sort of, like I say, the A string if you can with your second finger there. Okay, and then we do that, and then we play a D major chord. So there you're playing open D string, 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the high E, and use your pinky sometimes on the 3rd fret and the high E to sort of suss for that chord. I won't get too in depth with the theory here, but just... And also as well, sometimes release your 2nd finger on the high E on the 2nd fret. It just adds a bit more to it, and you play these chords, the A sus2, E minor, G5 and D major, you play that twice through. Then after that we play the intro like we played at the start. We played that. Okay, so that's the verb. Okay, doing that, say 2nd fret to the 3rd fret on the low E. Then we move into the chorus. So the chorus, it's really strange. What it is, it's the same chords as the verse, but instead of playing, you do A sus2, E minor 7, but except this time we play the D before the G. So you're going... Okay, so after each time you play that, you play the A sus2, E minor 7, D, then G. Do that riff that we keep coming back to on the low E between the 2nd fret and the 3rd fret. Okay, then sometimes on the E minor 7, again, just to embellish that chord a bit more. Okay, so what you're doing there, just a little fiddly bit that you can have fun with that just adds a bit of something to the song. If you slide from the 3rd fret to the 5th on the B string with your 3rd finger, then play your 1st finger on the 3rd fret with your B on the B string, 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the G on the G string. Okay. Okay. And then back to the B string, back to the G string, if that makes sense. So 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the B, 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the G, and just so do that slide. Okay, so you play. Okay, just as I say, just embellishes that chord a bit more, just gives it a bit more flavour, a bit more character. So that's the chorus. Then we go back to the verse, then it's the chorus again, then it's the bridge, which is exactly the same as the chorus. Then we have the chorus played again, but it's played with that lead riff that we was playing at the start of the song. You play that twice through, but on the 2nd time through, you basically, at the end of it, you sort of mute the G chord. So it's sort of, if I can explain it, you know when you do, okay, on the 2nd time through, okay, so you play it up to there, and then you play this, then you mute. If you take your 2nd finger on the low E string on the 3rd fret and just mute that. Okay, so that's basically up to there, and then next after that we go into this sort of octave pattern, which I'll be teaching you next. Okay, so now we have this octave pattern which is played sort of, and you really do have to listen to carefully to the recording to hear this, but it is played sort of underneath the main sort of chord pattern. So what you're doing is you're putting your first finger on the 12th fret on the low E, muting the A string with that finger, and putting your third finger on the 14th fret of the D string. So you're playing an octave. Okay, so what you're doing is you go from the 12th to the 9th to the 10th to the 5th. Okay? Okay? Then you go from the 12th to the 10th to the 5th to the 7th. So, okay? Then 10th to the 9th to the 7th to the 5th. Don't worry, I will play through this slowly. So, okay, and then you go 7th, 5th, 7th, 5th, 7th. Then it's that pattern that we have played so many times. So all together, as I say, you're just keeping that octave shape. You're only hitting, you want to just only hear the low E and the D strings, okay? Okay, so that's just, as I say, you're just playing an octave pattern there. As I say, when you play this yourself, I'm playing this cleanly. Crank up your distortion a little bit. It'll sound a lot better than what I'm teaching you here. It's only so you can actually, during this like tuition video, you can actually hear what is being played and what is being, you know, what is coming across. So I say 12th to 9th to 10th to 5th, 12th to 10th to 5th to 7th, 10th to 9th, 7th to 5th, and then 7th to 5th, 7th to 5th, 7th, then that. Okay? Play that pattern, as I say, that we've played so many times throughout the song. Then we end on an A sus2, right at the end of the song this is, but then move your second finger down to the B string. Then use your first finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. Okay? So you go. Then take your 3rd finger off. Then you play open G string. First finger on the 3rd fret of the B. First finger on the 2nd fret of the high E. So. Okay, then you pull off on the 2nd fret of the high E. Pull off on the 3rd fret of the B. Then open G, D and A strings. And then back to that A sus2. And that is resolve. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Sorry if I've sort of crashed through it and gone too fast, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully this helps. Any questions or comments, please leave down below. And to say, just enjoy the lesson and have fun with resolve.